let's not get into that where we get into numbers and I gotta show you the statistics of what I've done. You heard to what other people was done. You heard them. You want to go to the Billboard entries, pull up Nas Billboard entries, then pull up my Billboard entries.
Listen, we can't compare the two. What I'm trying to tell you is
I want to go there.
Hold on.
I want to go down the line now, because now we going down the line. He's a rapper and I'm a rapper.
Listen,
let's go statistically.
It feels great.
No, but I want to go statistically, because when people be like,
I feel the same way. We all feel the same way.
And forget about the numbers. There's nothing that could, there's never, is me, putting me up against anybody, I'm taking me every time. Every time.
Supposed to. Okay,
every
but
time, in all categories.
Say something though, Jim.
In every category,
Jim,
I get busy.
Jim Jones ain't just sneak dissing Nas anymore. He's straight up talking about pulling up on him. But here's what makes it even crazier. Nas barely even acknowledges Jim exists. And the one time he did, it was ice cold. He shut it down with just a few words, so dismissive, it sent Jim into a whole new meltdown. But this ain't just rap beef. This is Jim Jones still stuck on a grudge from the early 2000s. Yeah, this thing is ancient. It kicked off when Dipset started throwing bars at Nas on mixtapes, hoping to bait him into a war. They came hard with the disses, but Nas, man, he didn't even flinch. No clapback, no subliminals, just silence. Then out of nowhere, an old clip popped back up. In it, Nas doesn't even diss Jim. He just brushes him off like he's not even worth the time. That's all it took to reignite the drama. You'd think that would have been the end of it. But nope. Fast forward 2 decades and Jim's still pressed. At one point, he even threatened to slap Nas. Now, every time someone questions Jim's wild claim that he's more influential than Nas, he loses it. Starts snapping online, barking like he's ready to show up anywhere, anytime. And now that he's back talking reckless, threatening Nas again, social media went off. Fans were roasting him heavy, calling him a washed-up rapper just chasing clout. And this time, folks ain't just cracking jokes. There's real heat building up. Jim's threats don't sound like just loud talk anymore. And people are seriously paying attention. Jim Jones won't stop running his mouth about pulling up, while Nas looks completely unbothered. On a recent episode of the Bag Fuel podcast, Jim went off again, claiming he's the reason Nas recently went viral. According to Jim, Nas ain't had that kind of buzz since the Ether days. Yeah, he really said that. Then he pushed it even further, saying rappers from his own era are too scared to go bar for bar with him in the booth. But that wasn't even the wildest part. Jim straight up doubled down. He pulled out a fat stack of cash on camera and challenged Nas, or anybody, to settle things face to face. It was bold, it was loud, but nobody's falling for it. Not Nas, not any of the rap legends from that era. All people are talking about is how sloppy and desperate the whole thing looks. It's starting to feel like Jim's putting on a one-man show and not the kind that gets standing ovations. And if you're wondering how this chaos got kicked off again, it all reignited earlier this month on the Joe and Jada podcast. That's where Jim started venting about how his opinion of Nas shifted once he got into the rap game himself. And when Fat Joe brought up some kid online comparing Jim to Nas, Jim snapped real quick. Jim Jones got real defensive and tried to back up his wild claims by telling folks to go peep his Billboard stats, like that's supposed to prove why he always puts himself above everybody else, no matter who he's compared to. But here's the kicker. The numbers don't lie, and they definitely ain't in Jim's favor.
I recently saw a clip on Instagram where a young kid was comparing you to Nas and saying that you got
that's my young boy.
Big hits.
He's wild.
Yo, he looked to you. He learned how to wear the BB Simon belt from you. He got his swag. Like, how crazy is that? Because in my era, you know what I'm saying? Nas is like a god.
In my era too. I mean,
so to be compared,
let me
that young kid out.
He was young and we loved that he loved Jim Jones.
Billboard came through with the cold, hard receipts, and the truth hits brutal. As a solo artist, Jim's only got 2 Hot 100 hits, just 2, and only one of those cracked the top 10. Now line that up with Nas. He's got 27 Hot 100 entries and 2 top 10 hits, and that's just talking singles. When it comes to albums, Jim's managed to get on the Billboard 200 just 3 times. Meanwhile, Nas is sitting on a mountain, 27 Billboard charting albums. Out of those, 16 hit top 10, and 6 climbed all the way to number 8 or higher. That whole flex backfired hard and made Jim look straight up silly. But instead of backing down after taking that massive L, Jim kept pushing the same tired talk. And it got even messier when he showed up on Nightcap with Shannon Sharpe and Chad Johnson. At first, he threw Nas a little respect, saying he was an early influence. Cool, right? But then, boom, he flipped and started throwing shade again, questioning if Nas's impact really lasted through the years, and then it got wild. Shannon hit him with the realest question. Was he even sober when he claimed he was a better rapper than Nas? Jim snapped and doubled down again, saying not only is he better, he's more influential than one of the most respected names in hip-hop history. Then Jim tried to drag up that old-school Dipset drama with Nas from way back in the early 2000s, saying, "We the ones that went wild on them boys," talking about their 2003 track, "I Really Mean It." We'll break that history down soon, but first, Shannon Sharpe wasn't letting that slide at all. He straight up told Jim that Nas lyrically outclasses him. Shannon didn't hold back for 1 second. He hit him with, "I don't know who told you that, but you not seeing Nas." Brutal. But even with all that heat, Jim still wouldn't let it go. He doubled down again, challenging Nas to meet him in the booth like he's ready to go bar for bar in a full-blown rap battle. Right after that, Jim tried to play it cool, telling Shannon he wasn't mad, but the energy shifted quick. Jim started heating up again and even challenged Shannon to meet him in the gym. Then, out of nowhere, he accused Shannon and Ocho of bringing him on the show just to boost their ratings. That's when it all went off the rails. Jim had a full-on meltdown right there on camera. And fans, they torched him in the comments. The internet was ruthless. Meanwhile, Shannon clapped back real smooth, saying basically that Jim needs their podcast way more than they need him. This wasn't just some fiery back and forth, it was a full public unraveling, and everyone was watching. It turned into straight-up chaos, and the internet is still tearing Jim apart for how he handled it. But guess what? Jim still wasn't done. He hopped right back on Instagram and doubled down again, this time challenging Shannon Sharpe to face him in the gym. Jim dropped a whole workout video and threw up a wild caption. "Somebody tell Shannon Sharpe, don't start ducking this challenge now. You gonna talk like a podcaster or walk what you talk, cause my sneakers tied." And he wasn't finished. Jim kept going, writing, "You already challenged me in front of the world. Might as well finish the job, champ. Ochotinco said he don't want to do it in public? Cool, we can run it in private. I know his rep as an athlete is on the line. As long as you the witness, we don't duck no challenges. Size don't matter where I'm from, run it. Young David to all Goliaths." But all that chest puffing backfired hard. Fans flooded the comments, roasting him left and right. People were saying he had wheelchair legs and clowning him for acting desperate, like he's just begging for clout. At almost 50 years old, folks weren't buying the tough guy act anymore. And as for Nas, yeah, he finally kind of responded. But we'll get to that in a second. Let's keep it real first. Calling this a beef is giving it too much credit. This ain't even a real back and forth. It's just Jim Jones clinging to a one-sided grudge that's been dead and buried for decades.
Like, if it was like Jim Jones, imagine putting a pen to paper to write about him. He was so nice. He was so nice about him. How did you do that? What's the first sentence? What the fuck do you write about him? I'm not anxious to hear the Jim Jones diss record. Like, I'm like, yo. The niggas that used to have a nigga a little nervous was like B.I.G., Pop, right? Even Cannabis, like Eminem. The niggas used to have you like, if we go at it, dog, we gotta go hard. You know what I'm saying? But these niggas like a Jim Jones, like I respect you getting your money. You're like, exactly, right?
It all started way back in 2003. When Cameron and Dipset, Jim included, kept tossing shots at Nas through mixtapes and radio freestyles. They tried everything to bait Nas into a battle, but he stayed silent. Then in 2005, a video resurfaced where Nas finally said something, and it was cold-blooded. He straight up shrugged Jim off like he wasn't even worth the energy, said Jim wasn't even on his radar, like no one's checking for him. That one moment hit Jim hard, and he's clearly been carrying it ever since. Let's be honest though, Jim Jones has never been the type to make anybody nervous with his bars. Not back then, and definitely not now. Then came a turning point. About a year later, Nas dropped Hip Hop Is Dead. That album shook the whole rap game. Artists all over felt some type of way about it, but nobody took it more personal than Jim Jones. Jim completely lost it. He got so heated, he actually threatened to slap Nas during an interview with SOHH.com. Jim said, "I like Nas's new song. I'll still slap the holy living-ish out of him. But I like his new song, that Where My Gangsters At, that ish kinda slick. He got a couple bars in there, but aside from that, I like music, so I can never, but I'll punch him in his mouth if I had to." Yeah, he really said all that. Meanwhile, Nas stayed cool, not a peep. He didn't bite, didn't even give Jim the time of day. But Jim, he just kept going. By October 2008, things took another messy turn during an interview with Rhapsody.com. Jim went off again. F Nas, I don't give an F about Nas. He's a rapper that just lost his pizzazz. Straight disrespect. And right after that, he dropped another bomb. Jim claimed he once had a tense face-to-face run-in with Nas and Dame Dash at a Ferrari dealership. According to him, Dame was chopping it up with Nas, and Jim just walked up like it was nothing. He swears Nas was never on his level. Not then, not ever. At this point, it wasn't just rap drama anymore. Jim was dragging it into real life, trying to prove something that no one else was buying. Jim painted the scene like he had Nas shook saying, "I was laid back on the couch laughing. He ain't know what to do. I was looking dead at him." Then he added, Dame was like, "You know Jim," and started stammering. According to Jim, Dame was just burnt out and not focused on that frivolous-ish. And Jim threw in, "Me neither." But here's the twist. Jim kept saying he didn't care about the drama, while still holding on to a grudge that's over a decade old, throwing sneak disses like clockwork. Meanwhile, Nas, he didn't even blink, ignored all of it. After 2008, this so-called beef went dead silent. No sneak shots, no interviews, no smoke, just crickets. And for a minute, it actually looked like Jim had a change of heart. He started showing love, called Nas a legend, and even said he wanted to work with him. He admitted he reached out to collaborate, but Nas never answered. And here's the kicker. Jim went on record saying Nas is one of his favorite rappers ever, even called him a major influence on his style. Wild, right? From threats to praise, this whole saga has been one confusing roller coaster. Even after getting iced out, Jim was still out here publicly begging for a feature.
So let's not get into that where we get into numbers and I gotta show you the statistics of what I've done. You heard to what other people has done. You heard them. You want to go to the Billboard entries, pull up Nas Billboard entries and pull up my Billboard entries.
Calling Nas the GOAT, hyping him up like a super fan. But fast forward to now, and Jim flipped the script again. One minute he's praising Nas like a legend, the next he's acting like he don't even know the man, dissing his legacy, throwing shade, and pretending they were never even cool. So of course the internet dragged him hard. Fans were clowning him, saying whoever gassed Jim up to think he could out-rap Nas must secretly hate him, because Nas, he's already certified. We're talking Hall of Fame status. He doesn't have to prove nothing. Meanwhile, Jim out here looking like that 40-something baller still chasing his first ring, loud, desperate, and past his prime. But just when Jim thought he had the spotlight all to himself, Nas hit back with the coldest move ever. And he didn't say a single word. No diss track, no messy podcast rant. Just one slick silent play that shut everything down. At a surprise guest spot during a packed NYC show, Nas came out and ran through a medley of his biggest hits. And right before dropping Made You Look, he paused and hit the crowd with this line. "Real kings don't bark, they build empires." Boom. The whole place went crazy. He never said Jim's name, but everybody knew who that shot was for. Fans online called it a silent assassination. Subtle, smooth, and straight savage. Nas didn't need to scream or post a selfie with Jim's name tag. He just reminded the world why he's still one of the most respected rappers to ever do it. While Jim was busy ranting on podcasts and going off on Instagram, Nas was out here making timeless music and letting his legacy speak for itself. And what did Jim do? He hopped on IG Live again, claiming Nas ain't never built no movement like Dipset, and even said he inspired a whole generation of street culture. But by now, fans were over it. The comment sections lit up with people calling him out. "Bro, you begged for a feature last year and now you dissing him?" Others were like, "You arguing with somebody who's not even in the room." The energy was off, and even folks inside the industry started backing away. People were saying Jim's obsession with Nas is doing more damage to his own name than anything else. What started as just a petty grudge, now it's looking like a full-blown spiral. Fans are watching it play out like some tragic comedy, cringing more than clapping. And Nas, still silent, still smooth, still winning, he's moving like a real boss. No online rants, no back and forth, just focused and untouchable. He's winning this whole thing without even throwing a punch. Jim's out here playing checkers, while Nas is playing chess. That savage non-response, it hit harder than any diss track ever could, and fans noticed everything. They clocked the desperation, the flip-flopping, and the loud energy that never landed. In the big picture, Nas didn't just win. He made it look effortless. Nas didn't have to say a single word because the message was loud and clear. He's way above all this noise. On June 21st, Nas dropped an Instagram photo that shook the whole timeline. No caption, no shade, just straight boss energy. Sitting at a private dinner table with LeBron James, Draymond Green, and a crew of powerful black CEOs. Talk about flexing without even trying. And trust, everyone caught the message. For Jim, it was simple. You can't sit with us, period. The comment section lit up instantly. Fans were dropping lines like, "This is how you silence a one-hit wonder," and "Sometimes silence hits harder than any diss." Nas didn't clap back, he leveled up, leaving Jim to keep yelling into the void. Let's be real. If you ever thought Nas was going to stoop down and trade shots with Jim, you don't really know Nas. This is a man who once dropped the perfect bar to sum it all up. It's rare I listen to dudes who never been in my position. A caterpillar can't relate to what an eagle envisions. Boom, mic drop. And with that, we're wrapping up this wild ride. If you made it this far, go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below. Do you think Jim ever had a real shot? Or is Nas just untouchable at this point? Don't forget to share this video with someone who lives for hip-hop drama, and we'll catch you in the next one. Stay locked in. It's only getting crazier from here.